Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, we're trying something new today. It's like like an express version of the Buckeye Weekly Podcast, something like that. We're just this is the time of the off season where we can mess around with things and try something new and just, you know, we've been doing this for what, 1,200 or 1,300 episodes now. So sometimes you got to spice things up, Tony, keep things fresh.
Yeah, it's one of the suggestions we got is what we're doing with this show and this topic anyway. Tom, I'd consider more maybe like a side quest type of thing. Buckeye Weekly side quest. And we were asked to give us your top 5 most exciting Buckeyes for the 2025 season. And we have not discussed who our top 5 are. So, there's no telling who could be 1. There's no telling who could be 2. Could be anybody, Tom. Could be an American. It could be an Australian. There is no telling. But my first most exciting Buckeye in 2025 is going to be sophomore wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. That might be controversial to some, but arguably one of the 2 most exciting players in the nation, all over, offensively or defensively. I'd say the best player in the Big Ten, but there might be some argument about that with somebody else on the list. But that's my number 1, Tom. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be relatively uncontroversial. The guy who was the greatest freshman wide receiver possibly in college football history, definitely in Ohio State football history, is back for year number 2. What will he do now? I wouldn't want to hazard a guess, but I also would say I would not expect. I don't think there's anything I'm looking at and going, well, he certainly can't do that this year. Like it's the restrictor plate is off. We'll see what year 2 looks like for Jeremiah Smith. But year 1 was plenty exciting. Year 2 figures to only be more so. And so number 2, Tony, probably not a big surprise here either. How about safety Caleb Downs? Speaking of guys who had good first seasons in Columbus, he had a pretty darn good first season with Alabama and a good second college football season in Columbus. His third year, boy, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably his last year of college football. We got to see Jim Knowles try and deploy him in a bunch of different ways. Mm-hmm. Now he's in a different, potentially a different role with Matt Patricia's defense. We'll see exactly how Matt Patricia decides to roll him out. And yeah, we saw a little bit in the spring, but he really didn't play a whole heck of a lot in the spring. And they really kept things fairly vanilla kind of throughout the times that we were able to watch. So it feels like even though this is year 2 with Caleb Downs in the Ohio State defense, between the new coordinator and, not really knowing exactly what his role is going to be, it's like, boy, I don't know what he's going to do, but I bet it's going to be cool to watch.
Well, and one of the things that makes him exciting, yes, he's talented and all that, but part of the exciting part is when he is the last line of defense. And it's like, if he didn't just make that ankle tackle, that was going to be a touchdown. And so there's this danger component that, that makes it exciting. Sure, he can blitz and do all of these things. And he's also a sure tackler, but he gets put into situations where, kind of like Sylvester Stallone in Cliffhanger. And I know people have used this comparison for him a lot. If he doesn't save the day, something bad, something terrible is going to happen. And he has routinely saved the day, whether it's against Texas, whether, Penn State or, somebody should do a study, as Urban Meyer would always say. Go back and see how many touchdowns he saved with just a single tackle that was, there was nobody behind him. It was just like a simple screen or a swing pass. And it was well executed, well schemed up by the offense, except for number 2. And I think maybe more than anything, that's what makes him exciting. Malik Hooker was a different type of exciting safety. Caleb Downs is this type of exciting safety, and both save touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a combination of Malik Hooker, but also Jordan Fuller, who Jordan Fuller was always that last line of defense kind of guy and just so reliable back there. But Caleb Downs, there are not two bigger Jordan Fuller admirers on these here internets than Tony and I, and we talked about him as being an incredibly underappreciated player when he was there. Caleb Downs is like Jordan Fuller plus or Jordan Fuller plus, which is really, really something. And with the flexibility they have with the defense, where you've got Malik Hartford, but you've also got Jalen McClain. You can move guys around. You could put him in a nickel. You could slide him. I mean, you can do just about anything with him. That unpredictability means he's going to be able to be potentially really unleashed and being able to be wherever the ball is. Like, go get that. Like, he may just sort of be the dog off the leash to a certain degree this year. Like, go get that ball. And when that is the challenge to him, you have seen so many impactful plays. So yeah, really, really looking forward to what that looks like for him this year.
So I think now is when this ranking system gets interesting. Give me your third.
So this is going to be one. I think I have two on this list that I think might not be on yours. This is the first one of them.
Right.
I'm going with running back James Peoples, because, man, you talk to the coaches, you see the way they're treating him. Like, very clearly he is running back number one. And I think he probably would have had a much bigger role last year if they didn't have such a great duo of Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, who not only were great, but they also split carries, but they also really stayed healthy. So you really didn't have James Peoples thrown in there the way that, sometimes the third running back has gotten thrown in there in the past. Dallin Hayden had a 130-yard game against Maryland, and that really kind of changed the way people talked about Dallin Hayden going into the next season. You didn't really have that with James Peoples last year. But and in the spring, it's not a great time to evaluate running backs, but just the way the coaches are talking about him, the way the coaches seem to be using him and lining him up in terms of the depth chart, it just feels like, man, they think they've got something there. And I'm excited to finally see that on the field this fall.
That's an interesting, I guess, guess. My number 3 is James Peoples, a sophomore running back. And one of the things I'm excited to see is when he carried the ball, everybody knows he's carrying the ball, basically. And so now what does he look like when there's a passing game available? Defense can't really assume he's going to get the ball. And we know he's got tremendous balance and good vision. I just want to see him fully operational and being able to do what he can do, because Ohio State's going to be starting somebody that is talented, that is exciting at running back, and I'm ready to see what that looks like with him, and he's going to get plenty of opportunities. So that is why he is surprisingly, maybe, both of our number 3 guy. I'm surprised and impressed, Tom, that you are correct about this one.
Yeah, I put him down, and I thought, well, I mean, it's not like there's a shortage of talented players on this year's team, and it's not like there's a shortage of intriguing players on this year's team. So I thought, I'll say this, and Tony will go, "Oh, that's a good pick. That's not who I had, but it's a good pick." And no, so it's interesting that we ended up in the same spot. I think, frankly, there's a decent possibility. The next one is one that I thought, well, this is one where he'll have this name on his list for sure. And, this will be one we'll agree on. So why don't you go ahead with your number 4, and we will see if I am right.
I am going with my number 4, Jermaine Matthews, junior cornerback, who was around the ball a lot in the spring. He is an excitable player. He's an exciting player. I think if he gets the ball in his hands at all, he can do something with it. I just think good things happen when he's around, and now he could be ignored offensively. Then it's like, well, this is boring. Maybe the best corners aren't necessarily exciting because they just get avoided, but he's got a way of, involving himself. So I have him number 4 on my list because he's just pure energy. And to me, that is exciting.
I had him written down, but he ended up being 6th on my list. So others receiving votes. But yeah, all the stuff you said, very, very talented player. You've seen it from his freshman year. He was out there more than you would expect from a true freshman. And then last year really was essentially a starter. He was not one of the 2 guys who were out there, but was considered not at all of a drop off from the starter. So basically in the 3 starter kind of rotation. So yeah, he's someone who you're going to see some exciting stuff. He's going to have a pick 6 at some point this season. He's going to be very emphatic in letting you know when you did not complete a pass on him. He's going to be, at some point he's going to be electric with the ball in the open field, picking up a fumble or something. he's someone who I wouldn't mind seeing return punts. I don't think we've seen him back there, but he just is the kind of guy that it's like you get him in the open field, something exciting is going to happen. So, yeah, I think despite the fact that that was not my next answer, that is, I think, a very good answer. My next answer was Sonny Styles, who first of all, the idea that this is Sonny Styles' fourth year at Ohio State is absolutely galling to me. He feels like he just got here, and he got here a year early. So boy, it's really going to, we'll see how his career goes. Here he is. He's a senior this year, fourth year senior at Ohio State. He's now playing linebacker for the second straight year. He was really good last season. Last season, when you finally sort of started to really see the hype, where the hype was coming from. You saw the hype sort of show up on the field in terms of just the raw athleticism and the instincts and the intelligence. He is someone who now, in his second year at linebacker, you got to remember, he didn't even start last spring at linebacker. That was like a partway through the spring thing where he didn't even go through the full 15 practice I don't think, at linebacker last spring. So now he's had that full year at linebacker now. Now he's the senior guy in that linebacker room. He just feels like you're going to have, we'll see how well the defensive line can keep him clean in terms of, not having blockers getting out to the second level and all that kind of stuff. But this just feels like this is a really intriguing year you could do just about anything you want with him. You want to throw him back in coverage? Yeah, he'll be fine back there. You want to have him rush the passer? Yeah, he'll be fine doing that. You want to have him fill the hole in the run fit? Yeah, he'll be fine doing that. It just feels like you're going to see some exciting stuff from him this year.
And Matt Patricia is excited to get to work with him and figure out those things. And you can be more aggressive with them because you have Caleb Downs that can kind of fill in behind him. If he vacates a spot to go blitz or whatever, then you've got Caleb Downs there. And I go back to the Texas game last year. Yeah, he gave up the wheel route. That was a tough ask. But in that Texas game, 9 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, a pass broken up, a forced fumble. Like this is what people have been clamoring for from Sonny Styles. And you got people like, yeah, but the wheel route is undefeated. I think this has been established. This is like, really? He couldn't leap the tall building. Yeah, he's human, but look at everything else he did. And I think he has a potential for a bunch of those games. And I'm not saying 3 tackles, more than 3 tackles for loss repeatedly, but there are a lot of exciting things that he can do. And I guarantee you that Matt Patricia considers all of that potential very exciting. I did not have him on my list. Is that a failing of mine? Perhaps. Was it a thought like, well, I can't have 3 defenders on my list, and also I project a little, Tom, and that's where I'm going to go with my number 5. And this is maybe some controversy because my number 5, and it might be completely wrong, is Mylan Graham. Because when we talk about exciting, I'm thinking like exciting plays, making plays. And people are like, well, what about Carnell Tate? And I'm like, yeah, what exactly? He had the same number of 40-yard catches last year as Emeka Egbuka. They both, I think, had 5 30 or 40-yard catches. So he's made plays. Carnell Tate has made plays, but in terms of ball in hand, electric, I want to see this guy with the ball. And maybe a lot of this is because he's still a mystery. Mysteries, Tom, are exciting. He is not a known quantity yet. So just as everybody loves the backup quarterback, everybody also loves the redshirt freshman 5-star wide receiver who has, if you've ever watched his highlights in high school, is an alien. And so it's like, I'm excited to see this. I think he has that potential. He is number 5 on my list. I don't know that he shouldn't be, but I'm projecting.
Well, I made a separate list of new guys who I think are most excited, and we'll probably do a show on that in a few weeks. And spoiler alert, he is on my list of new guys I'm most excited to see. I think it's a valid answer, certainly. It's going to be tricky to break into the starting 3 for him this year. I think when he does, he's going to do some cool stuff. But you've got Carnell Tate, you got Jeremiah Smith, you got Brandon Innes, you got Bryson Rogers in there too. I mean, this is this is a talented wide receiver room where it's not going to just be, you're not going to walk on the field and just play 40, 50 snaps immediately. So that's one of the only things that would be sort of holding me back from putting him on this list. But if you were making a list, the old Urban Meyer list of the top 10 playmakers on offense, yeah, he's on that list for sure. And it's interesting because there are so many potential playmakers on offense. I'm excited to see C.J. Donaldson run between the tackles. I think that could be really something. I think Carnell Tate this year is going to be exciting. I think Max Clare this year is going to be exciting. Tony, I am probably a little bit a defensive guy at heart because I did have a third defensive guy on my list. I want to see Arvell Reese just hit some dudes. I want to see, remember the old ESPN jacked up segment that now is just a bunch of hits that would get you put in prison? Like, I just watch Arvell Reese just hit people. There was one last year, I don't even remember which game it was, where it was just on the other side of the pile. I couldn't see it. There were a bunch of offensive linemen between me and whoever he hit, but it was just the sound of the hit was just, the way people used to talk about, like, you listen to Barry Bonds take batting practice and it just sounds different. There was one or two of those last year with Arvell Reese just running straight through people and just turning them into just a real fine mist. It feels like you're going to get some of those this year. Sonny Styles had a couple too, where it was just like, he had a huge hit in the Cotton Bowl against Texas. I just, maybe this is my mid 90s college football upbringing, coming back. But man, if these guys had neck rolls, they would be 1 and 2 on the list, but they don't. But so they're still, cowboy collars would have been fine. No, they're on the list, but they're not 1, 2. But yeah, I just think this is going to be a year where it's a new look Ohio State defense, but both of those linebackers are just really intriguing to me.
If the dark visors were still legal, then I would put Arvell Reese in my top 5. You put him 6'4", 240 pounds, dark visor. That dude is a playmaker. That dude is exciting. I want to see what happens. But as you're talking, it's like, well, we've got to do a top 10 playmakers on offense, top 10 playmakers on defense video at some point. But yeah, I'm with you. Arvell Reese, again, Matt Patricia's already talked about the different ways that I can use Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. They're big and they're long, and it's like, well, let's see what they've got cooking for them, because yeah, those guys can do some things. Tom, I can't complain about anything that you put there. I can't complain about anything that I did either, and not that I ever would. So there you go. The 5 or so most exciting players to watch in 2025 for the Ohio State football team. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Hit the thumbs up before you go. If you've got any side quests that you'd like us to, to go on, things like that, go ahead and hit us up on Twitter. You guys know where we're at. Tom is at Twitter /or x.com/@TomOr4. And then I'm at Tony Gerdeman. And everybody knows that, of course. Why wouldn't you? And you can find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Big things happening there, as you may know as well. Made some major additions, brought in Jeremy Birmingham. He's there talking right now about all things recruiting and things behind the scenes with the team. Andrew Ellis doing the recruiting stuff as well. We got the X's and O's going. We're going to start cranking that out as well. There's a lot to talk about from this past season and maybe what to expect more with Matt Patricia and Tyler Bowen and Brian Hartline running all different kinds of things. So you can find that at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Just $4.99 for your first month. That will get you going, and I promise you will enjoy it. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.